Hello and welcome back to another episode of Star Wars Alliance. I'm your host, Clay, and with me today is not Katie. Katie was feeling a little under the weather today, so I have Joe here. This is a Ranger Alliance takeover. Uh,
Real.
yeah, it's gonna be really fun. This is a fun actual episode to have you join. Not super news heavy. We don't have a new show to talk about. Instead, we're gonna be ranking the live action shows of Disney Plus. For those of you watching on YouTube after the fact that we are live, I know the thumbnail had Bad Batch, but I didn't even think about Bad Batch when thinking about Disney Plus shows. Not saying that Bad Batch is bad, but we're really focusing on the live action stuff just because uh I hate the stigma, but it's somewhat like more focused towards the general audience when it comes to live action stuff. But the stigma of like, oh, cartoons are just for kids, right? It's not
Yeah,
very
we've had that
fun.
discussion a lot.
It's not a great stigma. I think it was Guillermo del Toro that even said that like animation is cinema as well. Uh, but for the most part, when if you're a general audience member that's just like, Star Wars, they're gonna look at live action stuff. They're not gonna be gung ho to jump onto something like a Bad Batch or a Clone Wars or a Rebels. So they're just gonna watch the stuff that's here, especially when you look at stuff like uh Obi-Wan and Mandalorian, who have actors who are directly connected to the other movies that they probably saw in theaters.
Sure. But then you also run into the fact like Ahsoka just came out, just ended, and majority of those characters, the majority of the things that people enjoyed seeing were in an animated show. So
Which
if
is
you didn't
it's
watch
funny.
the animated show, you kind of missed out on some of the nuances.
It's really funny that you mentioned that because I asked via the Star Wars Alliance Twitter account what the rankings of these shows were. That, of course, being Mandalorian, Boba Fett, Obi Wan Kenobi, Andor, and Ahsoka. And somebody here said Andor, Obi Wan Kenobi, Rebels season 5, The Mandalorian, and the Mandalorian season 2.5. I,
Yeah, that
I
sounds like a really smart guy.
that like it's just like what? Of course, that being Joe. But uh Joe, you're on the show, so of course I just said your ranking, but we're gonna have some talking points about this.
Yes.
It's more
Yes.
important that we talk about these rankings and the reason why we chose them this way. And of course, there are several other people who responded, so I want to read those off as well to see if we land somewhere in the middle or exactly where those other people had said. Um, but before we jump into that tiers list and talk about the Disney Plus shows, there is small pieces of news. Of course, uh, the I think one of the biggest things was that sadly the costume designer, I believe, for uh, Ahsoka and a lot of the Disney Plus shows for
Yeah.
Star Wars, sadly passed away. So I just want to share my condolences for the family. I know that they're probably going through a hard time. Very sad news there. The costume design on the Disney Plus shows have been peak. I
On
do
point.
love all
Yeah.
of the Star Wars. Like Andor had great costume design. Uh, I think Ahsoka. We always had something great to say about the costume design in Ahsoka. I mean, Ray Stevenson's Balin had like a
Uh,
really awesome like tunic and everything. Really love that stuff. So yeah, costume design was on point for all of these shows. Um, the next thing on our list is the talking about Mandalorian. It says here that according to small sources, Mandalorian season 4 is reportedly ready to start filming as soon as both strikes are resolved. It says both strikes. So right now, WGA is officially done with their
mhm.
strikes. They did share a vote and it was 90 to 10% with the
I thought it was
WGA.
99%.
Was it 99 and
I
the
thought it was
1%?
99% and 1% made up like 10. I don't remember.
I
But
think it was, no, you're right. You're right. It was 99%, and the 1% is a total of like 90 people. That just
yeah,
shows how
something like that.
large the WGA is. Um, was for the new contracts.
Hmm.
So the actor strike is still going on. Not as much reporting on like when they're meeting and everything else. It's been very not as vocal when reporting when it comes to the WGA. Everybody was like, "Oh yeah, they're doing it tomorrow. They're doing it the next day." You know, all of this stuff. I think we've only heard about the writers going into negotiations maybe once or twice in the last few days. Um, Either way, hope they get resolved soon. Um, because it says here that the Mandalorian season 4 will not come out if they start immediately within the next, let's say month. Let's say that it takes another 3 weeks for the actor strike, and this is overshooting probably
Hmm.
for them to start everything, writing, and all of that filming. Mandalorian will not come out until 2025. This is a little bit of an issue that I have with streaming shows overall. Now, again, I think it's like for the fact that the quality of The Mandalorian, I think The Mandalorian has been a great show every single season. There are certain episodes that fall at the wayside. Some of those episodes can be the very start of the season, or some of them can be at the very end of the season.
Some of them
Either
could be the whole
way,
season.
and there's that. Uh, but either way, the one thing that I don't like is, and I think a lot of people are taking this from, of course, the godfather of streaming, which is Netflix. A lot of these shows, such as oh shoot, Stranger Things has had large gaps in its seasons. I think the largest
Yeah.
gaps being from season 2 to season 3. And season
Mm.
4 is the newest one that's gonna come out.
Season
Um,
5.
season 5, sorry.
Yeah,
Season
that's
5 is gonna, like, I that's gonna be, I think, even larger of a gap than what
because
we've
of the
had in the past.
strikes. Yeah, I don't see it coming out until early 25,
Yeah.
which
So,
it's not great because all
it's
those kids are already like 18 pretending to
oh,
be 12-year-olds.
well, I think some of them are nearing 20 now, which
Yeah,
is
no, like
insane.
it's
Uh,
now they did a good job with Millie Bobby Brown's Eleven's character in this past season where they were showing it like in her mind, so it's her perspective. Anytime she like looked in the mirror, it was a younger version of her with like her face superimposed on whatever actress they had.
yeah.
But then when she was in the mirror, it was her interacting with reliving her scenes. I thought that played out really well, but you can't really when they all look like they're 25 years old pretending to be 15-year-olds, it's going to be harder to do. So,
Oh, I really do agree with you. I mean, for me, the only time I've really seen something like this was It Chapter 2. A lot
yeah,
of the kids from It Chapter 1 had gotten a lot older. And they said that they had to use CGI on a lot of these kids, especially some of the uh boys, because they were starting to grow facial hair, and they
yeah.
had to either shave and use CGI to get rid of the stubble and everything, because these kids are supposed to be anywhere from 15 to 12 years old. Um, and when it comes to things like Star Wars, thankfully, as of right now, there isn't really any large role in these shows that have to deal with kids.
Yeah,
So,
because they can kill them all.
shit.
What? Tell me I'm wrong.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. I was not expecting that. Oh
Why
shit.
you podcasted with me before? You should
I
expect
know.
that. You should know that. You should know better.
But what I was trying to get at is that none of the main actors on
Yes.
these shows are teenage, young adult. A
The
lot of
worst
them.
we would have is in Kenobi with the young Luke and the young Leia. That's assuming we get any more Kenobi, which
That's assuming that we get
who
any more
knows?
Kenobi. And because there was rumors of a season 2, nothing is
Hmm.
being greenlit yet. Even for Ahsoka has had its season 2 rumored. Nothing has been greenlit
Oh yeah,
yet.
we got Jason on Ahsoka.
We do have Jason.
Yeah.
Now, I will say, uh, Marvel Alliance will be speaking on this soon, but there has been some heavy news with Marvel Alliance, with Marvel shows in the way that they're going to be structured
Yeah.
because that is still Disney. It makes me wonder if this shift could also make a shift to Star Wars. And what that entails is that one of the big shifts in Marvel shows, and like I said, Chris and Britt will go into bigger detail into this, have a bigger discussion about it, but is instead of focusing on uh limited series, they're gonna start focusing on serialized multi-season shows that they can create in the future for the MCU, I would assume. Uh Star Wars, as of right now, the only ongoing seasons that we have is for The Mandalorian. Mandalorian has had a total of 3 seasons, going on season 4. Uh, like I said, Obi-Wan and Ahsoka have assumed rumored season 2s. Book of Boba Fett, we assume is only 1 season, but it kinda left the door open. And Andor has multiple seasons, but it can only be for a limited time because of how that story ends.
And Andor was confirmed when it came out. It was going to be 2 seasons. Season
Yeah,
1 focusing just in this like blurb that we had, and then season 2 starting literally where we pick up from, and then like jumping until right before Rogue One.
yeah,
So like, that's like a 5 year gap or something. So, but we knew that going into Andor when it started. They said that the director said that from the get go.
exactly. Um, and with these shows taking a year and a half, 2 years to fully be developed, like it's taking time off of our lives to finally see these shows. Like it's taking so long to get these shows ready for them to be presented onto these streaming services. Joe, do you think this is something that streaming shows should streamline and to get a better handle on? Or do you think that this is the best option that they have to make good quality of shows?
Honest opinion, they need good quality of shows. The I mean, and we'll get into it with my rankings, but Ahsoka was while it was a good show, I think I was more mad that similar to when we covered because I think I was on for some of the Book of Boba Fett episodes. It was called Book of Boba Fett, and Boba Fett was there was 2 episodes where he wasn't even in the show. Why are you calling it Book of Boba Fett when it literally was a Mandalorian show? This is a similar situation where it's the show's called Ahsoka, and you have Ahsoka in the show, but she is not the main focus. It's
Hmm.
literally Sabine and Ezra, and like just call it Rebel Season 5. Call it Rebel Season 5. Fans would be happy. I don't like the fact that this show
I can't
literally was
even use the
made.
excuse, Joe. I can't use the excuse because I was gonna say, well, no, like general audience won't see
You, but
Rebels, but it's
you're not
Ahsoka,
wrong.
and Ahsoka is from a animated show which was
Correct.
on Clone Wars and
But it
Rebels.
Ahsoka is
So
also a breakout character that just people latched onto and loved from the get go.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, uh, but ultimately, it's just one of those things where this show was literally just a stepping stone for the next project, which is what most of Marvel has become for a while. Not just TV shows, but some of the movies too. It the plot doesn't mean anything. It's building up to the next thing, and that is one of the things that bugs me. Was not too happy with that.
Yeah. I I get what you're saying. One of the big things that me and Katie discussed on here a couple weeks ago, right before the season finale, was do these shows need to extend the season length? Not by much. I'm not saying go 15 to 20 episodes, but 6 always feels like it's too short. Like they're rushing for that ending. And I think that maybe streamlining it just a little bit to get that extra episode can help complete the story a little bit. But with Ahsoka, I feel like it was just enough of a cliffhanger to be like, God damn, I need another season.
Yeah,
Like, I
100%. Yeah,
yeah,
but like eight to ten, and I've been lobbying for this for a while now. 8 to 10, max 13 episodes is that sweet spot. 10,
yeah,
10 is the good number
yeah,
because you're able to tell your story and keep it story driven and story focused and not have usually a bunch of filler in the middle. Um, I know, and this is be a hot topic for Marvel Alliance this week with Daredevil Born Again, but that being 18 episodes, I got a little worried. Now I know they're going to be cutting that up a little bit, like there's going to be a break in between, but well, there was. I don't know what's going to happen now, but 18 just seemed like a lot. And
yeah,
because everything streaming wise now has gone down to that lower number of episodes, it I don't know. I like it better. Like,
yeah,
and it's not. It's you don't have to dedicate 22 weeks out of the year, or really 30 because they have breaks in between anymore, to trying to keep up with the show, and then half the time forgetting what happened because I that was 20 weeks ago. I don't know what happened in the season premiere.
yeah,
So
yeah,
these 6 episodes feels too short. Like you can get some good episodes, good shows out of 6 episodes. But I agree with you on that one. 6 episodes feels like you just need just a little bit more.
hmm
8 episodes is a good number. 10 is that sweet spot. 13, anything past 13, I start to get a little leery
yeah. I
anymore.
think 13 unfortunately gives the excuse to have filler, and
It can.
yeah,
So
we
that's my opinion.
I mean, somehow we were able to get filler in Book of Boba Fett for a couple episodes. So-
Well, no. It's not filler when you realize it was actually Mandalorian season 2.5. The
I
filler
mean,
part, the filler part was the 4 episodes of Boba Fett before you got to the 2 episodes of Mandalorian. Oh, sorry, just trying to
if you
trying to
guys
irk
haven't
my queen, aren't
realized,
you?
I think we know exactly why Joe has his ranking the way he does. Um,
Just saying,
but the
just saying.
last part of our news this week is High Republic related. Of course, me and Katie are on a big shtick with the High Republic. We love it, and we review every single book. Just a little update: we do have in possession the uh, Eye of Darkness, which is the next High Republic book that is releasing. I believe. Yes, it is part of
I'll say,
the
is that phase
third
three?
phase.
Okay,
It's the start of phase three. It releases, I believe, in November. So, but we are in possession of it right now. Katie has finished the entire book, finished it in less than 24 hours.
nice.
And yeah, she is insane. Um, and I am rounding chapter 10. Uh, out of a 67 chapter book.
Whew.
We will have that ready for you guys, I believe the first week of November. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Out of
The
curiosity, once phase 3 is over, are they going back to like after like post? Okay, so
We do not
also
know. It's speculation that there will be a wave of novels that are in between uh the Return of the Jedi and Force Awakens.
okay,
There's a like set of rumors that people have kind of started, or there will be stuff that is post Rise of Skywalker that give us some adventures with Ray. Those are
okay.
the two things that are really high on speculation lists. Um, I
I
would
was
not
I was just
mind staying in the High Republic a little bit though. But what were you
mm.
saying?
Well, I was just curious because I'm planning on doing a Star Wars. I guess I'll call it like a Star Wars run through, starting at the very beginning of
From the
chronology.
beginning,
So it'd be High Republic Phase 2 and going forward.
I
So
have
I'd be doing novels, comics, movies, TV shows, all in chronological order.
I
That's
have
my
talked to
plan. Don't
Katie.
know what's gonna happen.
I've talked to Katie about this. I don't know how long it could legitimately take a normal human being, let alone somebody like us with the hectic schedule that we have.
What's
So,
normal? Definitely not me.
but seriously, there is so much content.
Yeah,
Like you
and
said, you
more keeps coming out.
more keeps coming out. Um, and like you said, there's so many different pieces of media that you would absorb. You would have novels, you would have comics, you have TV shows, you would have animated shows, you would
Yeah.
have movies. So much
Thanks, Andrew.
uh would be there to consume. I just noticed what it was too, right before he said that. So it's gonna be crazy. But this piece of news is that some of our main characters of focus on the High Republic are showing up in the animated show, Young Jedi Adventures. There is a photo here. I will go ahead and share it for those uh, that are watching with us here on YouTube. Uh, it is Loden Greatstorm and Bel Zettifar here. I love the animation for this show. It is very much in light of things like Paw Patrol, like PJ Masks, a lot of those very young toddler uh, aged animation shows, but it looks great. Um, I don't know if you've read any of Phase One, Joe. Um,
I read 2 books, and there was
okay,
the the first adult and the first young adult. So
okay,
I can't remember what those 2 were. Light of Xanthar or something. That's
yeah.
okay, that's Man in Black.
The These two characters are quite possibly my favorite two characters of the entire High Republic. Um, Bell has just had a great story to tell, and Loden Greatstorm is just a very wise individual when it comes to just life and the Force and everything else.
Okay.
So great individuals to have on this show. So I think that is very, very cool. It is also said that Cavan Scott, the one of the writers that is on the High Republic team, he has wrote some novels and even the main series of comics. He wrote these episodes
Very
for
cool.
the Young Jedi Adventures. So very, very cool to see them get involved in that. Um, but that is everything for the news. Now we get down and dirty with this tiers list. So I do have here on our screen a tiers list from the tiermaker.com. Had to make a quick account to jump on this. Again, we are dealing with the live action shows, that being Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, Kenobi, Andor, and Ahsoka. But before we jump into our tiers list, let's go ahead and focus on some of uh, these responses that we got from our Star Wars Alliance Twitter account. Andrew, who was in the chat here with us on YouTube, his ranking is The Mandalorian is number one, Andor number two, Ahsoka number three, Obi-Wan number four, and the Book of Boba Fett number five. We have Phil, who was mentioned on DC Alliance for his question to James Gunn. He has
Yeah.
his list for The Mandalorian, Ahsoka, Obi-Wan, Book of Boba Fett, and Andor as his number five. I'm not really
Ooh.
sure how people are looking at this tiers list as far as is number one their top or is number five their top. That's that's like for me, I think your number one show is the number one show, your favorite show.
Yeah.
Andor being a number five, I think
He
that's a
may not
hot
have
take.
liked it. I mean,
Uh,
look, that's it, he can make a wrong choice, and that's fine. I'm just kidding, Phil. Your choice is your choice. There's nothing wrong with that.
then we have Josh, who actually did an updated list, but he did have his initial post being Ahsoka, Mandalorian, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and the Book of Boba Fett. He did mention that he had never seen Andor, and then literally as we were introing this show, he came up with an updated list of
Oh, nice.
Ahsoka, Andor, Obi-Wan, The Mandalorian, and the Book of Boba Fett.
Okay.
So, and of course, Joe, there is yours, but we're going to go ahead and go down the list of how these shows were aired, and then we will talk about them. So, the first one being The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Mandalorian has, of course, 3 seasons. It introduced, of course, the Mandalorian, Din Djarin, as well as Baby Yoda, Grogu.
Yep.
So there's a lot of things to take into account for this show. Uh, I think that there has been a wide shift from when the show first originally aired to where it lands in the Star Wars mythos with season three. Um, so, Joe, where do you personally have The Mandalorian?
I've got it at number 4, and the reason being, it is a great show. Season 1 was amazing. You know, we're seeing this long form storytelling of this character, and it was great. It was, looking back on it, when you start getting into season 2, it became a basically an escort mission. You know,
Hmm.
it's Din Djarin having to take Grogu to his clan, only to him finally just accept him as being him being his clan leader kind of thing. Um, and that's fine, and there's nothing wrong with that. By the time you get to season 3, and this kind of, to me, starts where it starts to diverge a little bit, because in between you had the Book of Boba Fett.
Hmm.
Now, I think if they had originally called the show Mandalorian: The Book of Din Djarin, season 1 and 2 following Din, no problem, no questions. Season 3 could have followed Boba Fett.
Hmm.
Season 4, or this current where we had season 3, was literally about Bo-Katan. Like, Din was there as an assist character,
Hmm.
but season 3, I felt, lost some of its drive, and it
Yeah.
just became a, all right, well, what's his name? Moff Gideon is doing a bad thing. We gotta go stop him.
Now, here's something. Uh, do you think the quality of season three would have been dramatically different if we didn't have to really be aware of the fact that oh shoot actor for the Mandalorian
Oh,
Pedro Pascal
Pascal.
didn't have The Last of Us.
No, because how many times did we see him in season 1, season 2? Like 3 times.
Once each.
No, you actually saw him twice in season 2.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Yes, we did. Yes, we did.
So yeah, it was once at the very end of season 1, and then season 2, you know,
Was the
during the
mission for
the
the face recognition?
correct,
So
and then at the very end when he took it off in front of everybody.
yeah,
So, like, that's having Pedro was is he does a great job. But Brandon Wayne is the Mandalorian. He was the Mandalorian in all of season 3, you
yeah.
know? Like, that was him. And I will say, um, there was a time when Emily was she was on a Instagram post talking about how Brandon is doing an amazing job. And apparently the Star Wars fans, I know this is really
She was
shocking.
attacked.
She was attacked because, like, you could tell it's Pedro Pascal. No, actually, you could tell it's Brandon Wayne if you're
Yeah,
paying attention, you
yeah,
morons. Because Star Wars fans are freaking fickle. Anywho, no, like him not being there, I don't think really hurt it because he does the voice. He can come in, he could do that in his living room and send it
yeah,
in. But having him as the presence is fine. Like that's great. But he isn't needed as much as people think, if we're being
yeah,
honest. That being said, though, like I can't see it being anybody else. Yes, Brandon Wayne under the mask, doing the stunts, doing the walking, just being on set is wonderful, and you do notice it. But Pedro is Din Djarin. I mean, obviously they both are, but either way, no, like him. I really like him as Joel too, though. So that's maybe why I'm a little biased.
I love him as Joel. There has been, I mean, I was on, I think, a big majority of your reviews for The Last of Us. We
Yeah,
love the entire season.
so good.
Um, so I don't know if I would have it any other way. With how these seasons have turned out, we
Where
had
would you
talked
put it? Where did you put it at though? I know I got it at 4.
Mandalorian.
Yeah,
I will go ahead and tell you this. Your list is the exact same as mine.
really?
Yeah. So this works perfectly with only one tier list.
Yeah.
Uh, so Mandalorian. I loved season 1. Um, I think that of course the badassery of Din Djarin that very first episode really gave people the nostalgia of what they thought Boba Fett was.
Yep.
The mysterious badass. I could take you in hot, or I could take you in cold. Like that's the one line everybody loved in season 1. Everybody
Episode 1. Yeah.
loved it. Um, and then seeing this, baby Grogu, like oh my gosh, it's baby Yoda. Like what's going on? Like there were so many new things being introduced in season 1 that you're just like,
Well, look,
holy
we got the
crap.
Force healing in Mandalorian before we saw it in Rise of Skywalker.
Exactly. Which had already been a thing in like legends and things like
Yes.
that. Anyway, but to see it in live action for the first time on a Disney show and
Yeah.
not a Disney movie, Star Wars movie, is huge. Like
Hmm.
they purposely did that. They
I
did
mean,
that
it
on
was
purpose.
same week. Like it was
Yeah,
literally the day before.
exactly. So there's so many things that were introduced in the Mandalorian that was like, okay, like I'm on board with this Disney Plus era of Star Wars. Let's see how it goes. Um and then, like you said, we got the shift in focus with what then became what people are now calling the Mandoverse, which I understand why people call it the Mandoverse because it
He started
started
it
with
all. Yeah.
Mandalorian and everything else. It's Star Wars. I'm sorry, like it's always gonna just be Star Wars because even the Mandalorian is in the same continuity of Star Wars, of the Skywalker saga, the Skywalker sandbox that we, you know, love and hate so much all at the same time. Uh it's like to me, I agree with you that if there was different chapters of this Mandalorian Bible that
Yeah.
is being written on Disney Plus, because when you look at it, when looking at season 3 with now Bo-Katan being the leader of the Mandalorians, like this could be a retelling of how the Mandalorians come back to be a great civilization, you know? Uh, and having these small little books and chapters could almost be like a Bible in an esque.
Would have been
So
great.
it, I would have loved it if they kept it to that formulaic type of storytelling. The only reason why it's a little bit harder for me to agree on your take with the book one, the book of Din Djarin. Din Djarin was not given a name to us personally until the
Sure.
very end of season 1,
Yes.
and I think that was the whole purpose. Like, again, talking about the badassery and the mysteriousness of what people think the, Mandalorians are, especially when it came to the original book, Boba Fett, uh, it's just like, okay, like this person needs to be a mystery, this person needs to be a badass, and we can't just give them a name very like firsthand.
100%. So yeah, you call the first season Mandalorian, season 2 the Book of Din Djarin, and then Book of Boba Fett, Book of
I could
Bo-Katan.
agree with that. I could agree with that.
Yeah,
Or you do what Falcon and the Winter Soldier did. Literally
and
at the very end
change it.
credits,
Yeah,
Captain America and the Winter Soldier.
yeah.
Uh so uh either way, I think that would have been a little bit of a smarter move. But
But that was
alas,
also the very first, like that launched with Disney Plus. So like
yes,
it was one of those things where they still had no idea what they were doing. It was all kind of like they were figuring it out as they were going.
they were figuring it out as they went, but the Mandalorian, like people need to understand, the Mandalorian was quite possibly their riskiest move
Yeah, hundred
as
percent.
Lucasfilm and Disney altogether. Like this being the launch title for a streaming service, that's huge.
Yeah,
Uh, I can't even tell you what Netflix's first original series is. Like I have no idea what it would be.
probably
Um,
some like food show.
Probably. I could tell you what I personally think is their first biggest hit, which would be Orange is the New Black.
100%.
Um,
Yep.
it is like their flagship. Like this was what started the
The
big
shift to
conversations
yep,
online
yep.
and the popularity of Netflix. Um, but yeah, I think that Mandalorian, for what it is, the flagship show, did do its job, and I really did enjoy it. You know, season 3, we had the qualms of what it became. Um, I still can't believe Jack Black is in Star Wars.
That
Um,
didn't bother me. Like seeing
oh, it
Jack Black in
bothered the
there,
hell
I know it
it
did. I listened to
it
the episode.
bothered the hell out of me. It was just like this is not Star Wars.
But
Like,
see, it actually is. Like,
it is and it's not. Like I said it in the episode that like there's so many weird wacky things that happen in the Star Wars universe. This totally makes sense. But just seeing both Jack Black and like if it was just Jack Black and then some random person, it would have been great. And the same thing if it was just Lizzo and then somebody completely random, I probably would have been like, cool, they showed up on in the Star Wars universe. But
but
with
because it
both
was
of them
both
there,
and
it
Christopher
just
Lloyd's and
exactly. It literally just
yeah,
looked like Jack Black and Lizzo, they accidentally visited the set at the exact same time, and they're just like, "Can we just be in the show?" And
yeah.
they got on it. Like,
That's
that's what
a
it felt like.
fair complaint. I don't know. I enjoy them on there.
Uh, Scarif Scuttlebutt podcast says, "I wonder what Lucas would have done for Star Wars TV since he had been planning it since the early '90s." Um, it's hard to have this debate because a lot of people still feel like with the presence of Dave Filoni, who is the direct mentor of uh George Lucas, that like we're probably seeing a lot of the stuff that George wanted to do, even have like some small notes, because I do believe he consults with George still on like, hey, like these small little things. He did it a lot for Clone Wars. Like he was keeping everything to what George uh really saw as like his fruition to what Star Wars was going to be.
Yeah, but Clone Wars, it was still under like George still had creative control over that. It wasn't until season 4 or 5 when he
For yeah,
sold it to Disney.
yeah. Uh, oh, on the game does take note of House of Cards. Uh,
Yeah, I forgot about House of Cards.
yeah.
Yeah. I will
So
say this though, going back to Scuttlebutt's question, I feel like yes, he had the ideas in the 90s, but with Phantom Menace, well, basically the prequel trilogy being as hot topic as it was, as people
mhm.
like n- enjoying it but not enjoying it until more recently, I think that probably like stopped any plans for TV in its tracks.
I think so too. Um, and the crazy thing is, like, I think since Netflix, people have been dreaming of this Knights of the Old Republic, Jedi focused, like hardcore TV shows. You see all of the fan made stuff on YouTube, and people are like, why
Yeah,
can't they do this on a streaming platform and on TV? Uh I because there's these wild theories that are still out there, like, oh, you know, like even Samuel Jackson is like, everybody else is coming back. What Mace Windu
look,
could still
all
be alive
all
somehow.
he had
Like,
was his hand cut off. He like Darth Maul came back. Come on.
yes, Darth Maul did come back. He didn't just have his hand cut off. I mean, he fell several thousands of feet.
He's a Oh, okay. Because that same like a movie ago, you didn't see Anakin and or uh, Obi-Wan Kenobi jumping down multiple flights of buildings and just land like it's
Le-
no big deal.
I mean, there could be a possibility that Mace did fall on one of those hovercrafts and, you know, was able to get to safety.
That's all I'm saying.
Well, we don't know. We don't know.
Would have loved to have seen him show up and then look that there we go. Obi-Wan Kenobi season 2.
Scuttlebot podcast says Phantom Menace feedback. Yes, messed up a
Yeah.
lot, all the chances.
And it was also like 99 or I'm sorry, 90 yeah, 99 was right there when the internet was kind of starting to be a big thing. People were like questioning everything. Here, you know what the funny thing is though, Scarif? If the original Star Wars, if A New Hope was remade today, it would flop. The only reason those movies are as held on a platform as they are is because there wasn't anything else out there. And they became popular. And people loved them. Don't get me wrong, people loved them. But if you go back and you actually watch it and pay attention, the movie's actually just fine.
Yeah, it's just fine, but I think what makes it such a like point of nostalgia for so many people nowadays is uh people, because you were, what was it, 90, it was 99 when
99 was Phantom,
Phantom Menace
2002 was Attack, and 5 was Revenge.
was, yeah, 5 was Revenge. I was just going into uh high school with Revenge of the Sith. Uh Looking all the way back at 99, like that's 4th grade. Like
I
there's a
was
lot of
16.
there was a lot of children and young people who are watching these movies who were already googly-eyed at the idea of Star Wars when shown by their parents.
Yeah.
Now you have things that are like, and of course, like we talked about it last episode with the craziness of the choreography and how, like, and I learned a little bit more about why the choreography got so crazy in episodes 1, 2, and 3 compared to now. But still, you have like the craziness of the choreography, like heavy CGI was introduced into the movie platform in Hollywood. Like it was
Yeah,
just so eye-opening. And especially for kids, you're just like, "Oh my god." And you just take that with you as you're getting older, and you're just like, "Oh yeah, those movies were great." It's the same way that people look at stuff like Batman 89 and things like that. It's not the greatest movie ever, but like you still hold it in high value because you watched it at such a
exactly.
young age. So
Yeah, same goes for the original trilogy for me. Like I watched those on VHS when I was 10 years old, like 7 years old, like in that age, because I'm old. But like it's one of those things where yeah, I watched it over and over and over again because that's what I had. That's what was available to me.
yeah,
And I loved it because it was it was just this sci-fi, this space opera playing out on screen. And I had all three at my fingertips to watch whenever I wanted to watch, you know?
yeah,
I didn't have to wait in theaters. So
yeah,
yeah, but I'm also the same way. When the prequel trilogy came out, I saw those in theaters and I loved them. I read the books. Like that's when I started reading the novels, was when those movies came out. And I'm like, I don't know why people are upset about these movies. Like these movies are fun. Like I'm enjoying them. I've always enjoyed those movies.
yeah.
You know, I was never one of those people who are like, oh, this sucks. I don't know what Lucas was thinking. And then 15 years later, man, this is as good as this new stuff. Like I've got some problems with the new trilogy, but that's a whole different set of issues. Red Skywalker. But yeah, so these are just it's I don't know. People Star Wars has always been one of those fickle things where people the answer to Star Wars to a problem with Star Wars is more Star Wars.
Yeah, yeah.
So
That's it. That's so, so true. But second in the airing of uh Disney Plus was, of course, the Book of Boba Fett. The Book of
here we
Boba
go.
Fett. So it's clearly number one on Joe's list.
Yeah, when you're going backwards, counting down.
So what real quick before we jump into here, on the game asks a question, genuine question. How many of the 9 movies in the 3 trilogies would actually call good movies?
So okay, first trilogy, Revenge of the Sith. Love that movie start to finish.
Mhm.
It's yes, you already know what's happening, but the you see the downfall of Anakin into Vader. You see the downfall of the Jedi they brought upon themselves. Love that movie start to finish. Empire Strikes Back is a beautiful movie. Like you really can't say anything that people haven't already said about the movie. It's normally number one on everybody's list. It's
Mhm.
actually my like number three, but or maybe number four. I don't know, but I liked personally Return of the Jedi better, but Empire is a better film,
Yeah.
hands down, 100%. And for the new trilogy, the sequel trilogy, I love Last Jedi. The Last Jedi was
Yes.
so flipping
Yes, yes,
good,
yes. One of us.
and I was
One of
so
us.
upset. What's one of us? I've been flying that flag since it came out. Um, it's it was so upsetting when Rise of Skywalker came out and it erased literally everything that Last Jedi did to then go into this other route. Like, ugh. So yeah, so Revenge, Empire, and Jedi, Last Jedi. Those I think those three are like some of the superb best Star Wars movies
Those
in this
those would
nine
be
trilogies.
those would be on my list as well as the 3 movies that I would call good movies.
Yeah,
For the exact same reasons. You see the fall of Anakin Skywalker, which is something that so many people have always wanted. Uh, on Empire Strikes Back, you see the good guys lose for the very first time in the Star Wars
that's
mythos
one
as
thing I always like. Anytime that's why I love Infinity War over Endgame
yeah,
because the
because the good
heroes are in a
guys
place.
lose.
Yeah, exactly. Like they've done everything they could and they still lost.
Yeah. Such a good movie. Uh, and then in the new trilogy, Last Jedi was such a bold movie.
It's what
So
people were
bold.
asking for, and then when they
It
got it, they're like, "We don't want this."
exactly. There was so many things that and freaking Johnson was opening the door to the entire galaxy. Was opening like
Mm,
we
dude,
I say this all the time on Star Wars Alliance. Like the Skywalker saga and the Skywalker galaxy is a fun place to be.
it
We
is.
talk about it for 9 movies, but it's a galaxy. It's a vast and huge place. Why are we staying on this one streamline of things when there is so much to explore? He was exploring that and they cut him at his knees. And that was just a horrible, horrible thing for them to do.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, those are our three. Book of Boba Fett. Why is it number one on your list, Joe?
So it's number 5 on my list because it and we've talked about I mean, I talked about it before. When it was originally supposed to come out, it was supposed to be season 3 of Mandalorian.
Yeah,
And if they had just called it season 3 of Mandalorian, fine, whatever. But you have there are some good scenes, there are some good stuff in the Book of Boba Fett, but when you have 2 episodes in that show that are focusing on Din Djarin and how he got Grogu back, and those episodes were better made, better quality than the rest of the Boba Fett show. There's
that
one episode where he doesn't even show up. There's another episode where he shows up and he's on screen for a minute and a half. You know how I know that? I timed it. Like, how are you gonna call it Book of Boba Fett and have 2 episodes where he doesn't say a damn thing?
it it was rough. And again, I said this before. Mine and Joe's lists are the exact same. Have Book of Boba Fett as number 5 as well. Uh,
And it sucks too because like the first I was really enjoying the story up until Mandalorian popped in. And then it
and
just sidetracked everything.
well, for me, I think one of the biggest things is when there was such a deterrence from the Book of Boba Fett on episode, what was it, 4, 5?
Because there was 7 episodes, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I want to say it was like 5 was because 5 and 6 I think were the 2 episodes, and then 7 was the final battle.
When you from that point, from 5, 6, and 7, when you hit the finale, when you go back to Tatooine and you have, like you said, the final showdown, it no longer even looks and or feels and or shot like the other 4 episodes were before that.
Mm-hmm.
And like I will never, I don't care what people say about like, oh, the cheesiness of Star Wars. Like, you haven't you ever seen the original trilogy? Seeing that guy randomly do the spin and shoot, I will never let that go. I'm sorry. It's like
Parkour.
hashtag not my Star Wars. It's
See,
it was jarring.
that's
The
fair.
like people as the Power Ranger guy, people like were poking fun at me when we saw the freaking chase scene with all of the freaking scooters. Like, my God.
Oh, I
Like,
forgot about that scene. Yeah.
yes. Like they were like, "Hey, have you seen the new Book of Boba Fett episode? There was Power Rangers in there." Like, come on, guys. Like it was hard to watch. Now, did they do the dry humor really well? Yes, they did.
Yeah.
Did they make one of the hottest freaking Twi'leks in all of Star Wars? Yes, they did.
I mean, I don't know. You got Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
Yeah, but you also have Jessica and
Yeah,
like
no, you're not wrong. Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So I was just like, whew. Um, and then they killed her, you
That
bastards.
was yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
it's so like there was great moments here. Um, and then it just kind of all went downhill. Uh, so I have to put it at number 5. I still like, just to poke fun at Travis Snell, I try to use, when appropriate, the like a bantha gif every chance
Sorry.
I get. Like, if there is a good moment to use it with Travis Snell in the chat, I will use it just because I know that will haunt him for days. Um, it like for the fact that they created their own sign language for this show. That, I think, is very impressive. Like, I thought that was so cool. Like, that is really, really cool. Everything else just went downhill. And you're right, it should have just been called Book of Boba Fett season 2, or The
Mandalorian season
Mandalorian.
2.5
Yeah,
or Mandalorian 3, like it was supposed to be.
yeah, exactly. The next one on our list, real quick, All in the Game does say, uh, how do you feel then about such a big franchise having only 3 good movies from its big 9 movies? No rather franchise with a 33.3 hit rate would survive this long and retained its popularity. Here's the thing though, on the game. The 9 movies were separated through how many decades?
Not only that, but there are, yes, we named one good, like, bet the best movie out of each trilogy. There's still a ton of great stuff in every single movie.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you got Luke blowing up the Death Star in A New Hope, you know? You got Jabba's palace in Return of the Jedi. You got you got pod racing. Like, I know people make fun of pod racing, but like pod racing in the Phantom Menace was wonderful. Like, it
The
was
Mace
great to
Windu fight.
see.
The Mace
Made
Win
like
not Mace Windu, sorry,
the
the Darth Maul fight
Darth Maul,
in
like Duel of the
at the
Fates
very
fight.
end of,
Yeah, like
yeah. Oh,
the
man.
just the arena fight. Like, I know that one is kind of whatever because of all the CGI, but like it was still a good fight. Like, there is a lot of little nuggets, 1,000 little nuggets in the whole 9 movie saga
Yeah.
that because even I have been vocal about how much I hate Rise of Skywalker, but there is a lot of great things in Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
But I still don't like the movie because of how it came about. But there's so much greatness in Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah. I totally agree. Just to shoot off a few that we didn't name, the Obi-Wan, Jango Fett fight.
Yeah,
I absolutely love that. The beheading of Jango Fett, I thought was awesome. The Obi-Wan Anakin Dooku fight is awesome. Uh,
well, sort of, because Anakin
well,
doesn't really do a lot.
I've been seeing, I've been
Well, Obi
seeing
Wan doesn't do a lot, I should say.
the behind the scenes unedited fight where, like, you have what originally was supposed to happen before he gets beheaded was like, Anakin was supposed to blind him in one eye with a lightsaber, uh and like do all sorts of like crazy tricks and stuff. So I that has been like evolving in my head, and I'm just like, man, only if I had this in full production and like not blue screen behind them and everything else. Um,
Yeah,
then you have the Battle of Endor in uh
Return of the Jedi.
Return of the Jedi as well. Um, that has evolved for me over time because of some stories in the from a certain point of view for me
I see.
personally, but it's still there. You have
Even the
you ha-
Vader and Luke fight in Return of the Jedi, like that was an
yes,
amazing fight. Like,
y-
there's a
is
ton of great things in each of these movies.
like the moment you actually have to question, like, is Luke going to turn to the dark side, like
Yeah,
at the end there. The Han Solo going into carbonite, like it's there's so many random things that you're just like, holy crap. uh and the new trilogy, you have uh the when you first see the Millennium Falcon in Force Awakens, I think was a great scene. uh seeing Han and Chewie for the first time again,
yeah.
um Like there's so many different things in all of these movies.
Seeing Kylo and Ray fight at the very end, like that was glorious. It was wonderful.
And
But
this right here, he says, I think the big gaps between each trilogy has helped similar to the big gap between the Avatar movies.
couldn't tell
Um,
you, haven't seen them.
I unfortunately, I think next year, I am going to owe Travis a quite possibly two pizzas because I told him that Sonic 3 will outperform Avatar 3, and I am dead wrong. With how Avatar 2 showed up, I didn't think that movie was gonna make anywhere near what it made.
Considering Cameron already came out and said, "Hey, I'm making 5 movies," that was a dumb bet on your side.
Well, no, like, okay, he said, "Oh, I'm making 5 movies 9 years after the first one came out." It's
It's
like,
James Cameron.
I
Like, come
just
on.
so? I don't care. Like, anybody else saying, "Hey, I'm making 5 movies a decade after the first one came out," no one, no one is that successful.
I mean, George
And
Lucas is. He made it 2 decades after. Well, I guess it was only a decade and a
it was
half.
only a decade. It
And a
was
half.
only a decade.
And a half. 83 was the last one. 99 was 1. So,
Yeah,
decade and a
true.
half.
Decade and a half. But he had made 3 of them before he made another trilogy. So there you go. Like that's the thing is that Avatar literally only had 1 movie and the sequel came in literally 12 years after. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Uh
Still haven't seen either one. So, not going to see any of them. I don't. The most Avatar I'll get is when I go to Disney World and ride Flight of Passage.
why did you make that bet? Because I really like Sonic, okay?
Look, Sonic 2 was amazing. Like, I really enjoyed the first one. The second one was really, really good. I am looking forward to the third one. Not gonna lie.
It's gonna be so good.
All right,
Okay, so the third show on our list is Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Kenobi came out
Um,
before Andor.
yes, Obi-Wan Kenobi came out before Andor, I do believe.
You sure about that?
Because I'm pretty sure it was Kenobi and then Andor and then Ahsoka.
You might be right. I
I'm
don't know.
I mean, I can check it right now.
I mean, we
Let's see
can do
here.
Kenobi. We can do Kenobi
Well,
next.
hold on.
Fine.
Andor release date was September of 2022. And then Kenobi was May of 2022.
So what was that? Okay.
So it was
Yeah.
Kenobi, then Andor. So
Okay.
going back, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you have a lot of new things introduced here. You have Riva, you have the first live action appearance of Inquisitors. Wasn't the first appearance of Inquisitors, but you have the first live action
Live
appearance of
action. Yeah.
Inquisitors. You have the return of Ian McGregor and freaking Hayden Christensen
Mm-hmm.
as Anakin Skywalker slash Darth Vader. You have new things introduced into the mythos, like the Path, which is basically a quote unquote underground railroad for Jedi survivors and other people
Yep.
that were, of course, trying to evade the Empire. So, like, give me your spiel on what you have to say about Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah. This one for me, um, it helped build the world of Star Wars. Like, you you know how it ends in it's number 2 for me. You know where Obi-Wan is at the end of Revenge of the Sith. You know where he ends up in A New Hope. So this movie is supposed to span that gap. We did get him in Rebels for a hot minute, which also kind of helped. I think there's been some comics, which also kind of helped.
Hmm.
Um, but so this one for me, I really enjoyed it, and it's my number 2 because similar to Revenge of the Sith, how we knew where when Anakin becomes Darth Vader, we saw that downfall. This one, we're seeing the rise of the wise Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
Yes, it starts out rough. He's not, the be all know all Obi-Wan that we see in A New Hope. He is down on his luck. He's been trying to contact Qui-Gon, no avail. He wasn't ready. He thought
Yeah.
he was ready, but he wasn't ready. And so we get to see him fail. And then he gets brought back into it by Bail Organa, and it's like, yeah, so I need your help. My daughter's been kidnapped. You gotta come help me here. Like, let's go. I just I really loved it because it built out the mythology of the characters we knew and loved. Not to say that like Boba Fett didn't. Boba Fett did build out the character, but that's also after we thought he died. Like, we thought he was done and we had nothing here. So now we're adding in new material for Boba Fett to continue on.
Yeah.
This is the in between for Obi-Wan. This is what he was doing post Revenge, pre Hope.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I liked it. I also liked, little Leia. She was a smart ass and just didn't take shit from anybody. Luke was still a whiny little farm boy. But like, you had Owen and Beru, who, as far as we know, they were just these lowly farmers that just up and died because they were holding droids. Now we see them as badasses, which again sucks because
Which makes
they
me
also died.
like yes, they end up dying in A New Hope, but because we don't get to see that scene and we saw the scene here in Obi-Wan, makes me think they did not just sit there and
Oh
die.
no, they put up a fight, but
Yeah.
the stormtroopers are actually trained fighters versus some farmers with guns. Like,
Yeah. Exactly.
yeah.
Um Obi-Wan Kenobi for me, I had just finished reading, and we did review it here on Star Wars Alliance, the Obi-Wan Kenobi novel, which is not in canon, but it still set the tone for where Obi-Wan was going to be, how everything was going to be setting apart. Uh, on the game says, but that chase scene in the woods with little Leia, oh boy. There was some editing stuff in the series overall that was kind of, not great. But the Riva Darth Vader fight near the end, the fact that we got to see Darth Vader hold a freaking ship with the Force with one hand, just holding it right there in the middle of the air. Absolutely amazing. Shows the strength of Darth Vader. The acting, again, when you look at episodes 1, 2, and 3 with Ian McGregor, we see the emotion on his face in episode 1. We see a little bit of a lighter Obi-Wan Kenobi in episode 2.
Hmm.
Not some serious moments. Of course, you still have the arena fight and his a fight with Jango Fett. Um, and then we see that emotion again in episode 3 with the fight on Mustafar and with Anakin and all of that.
Oh.
But seeing the absolute fear, confusion, and like just awe in his face when he makes the realization that Anakin isn't dead. In that first
Right.
episode of
Yes.
Obi-Wan Kenobi,
And
you
then
get to
this, and then to see it again when he's fighting him and Anakin
oh,
is, or Darth Vader's like, no,
when
I killed Anakin. Like,
when he fights Darth Vader at the very end, and you hear him choking up when
yeah,
his voice cracks when he says, "I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't mean for this to happen to you." And we get that awesome scene. The audio, guys. The fact that we have the modulator crackling with the broken face shield of Darth Vader, so
yeah,
you get to see Anakin and the way they played with the light with the blue lightsaber and the red lightsaber. When you hear Anakin's voice, you see the blue lightsaber, and when you hear Darth Vader's voice, you see the red lightsaber. Like, it's so good. That cinematography was excellent. It was such a good fight. I don't care what anybody says about the CGI rocks and how silly the fight was and anything else. I loved it. I know a lot of people
It's
didn't like the flashback scene because they didn't use
that one
CGI
was a little
on.
rough, but I
It was a
still
little rough.
appreciated it.
It was a little rough, but it was a great callback to the final fight of Anakin and Obi-Wan because it was the
Mhm.
exact same choreography. The uh the lesson that Obi-Wan was teaching Anakin that Obi-Wan then had to learn again through the series was great as well. Like I loved this show.
Yeah.
Absolutely loved this show. Uh Now on to Andor.
Number
Andor.
1, sir. Number 1. This was it's Star Wars without the Skywalkers. Like, this is again, it's similar to what I said with Obi-Wan. We know where it's leading with Rogue One, and it's just a beautiful freaking story. Like, and it's sad, it's depressing, which, I mean, is not always great, but, like, the way they do it was just 100%. This is somebody who hates the Empire, who hates people. I can relate. I hate people too. So, like, he just wants to stay away, and he's just trying to live his life, and he gets dragged into something that is bigger than him, and he starts to see, like, maybe I actually can help. Maybe I actually can do something here. The prison scene when they break out, like, that was heartbreaking when Andy Serkis's character just, like, he created a revolution that ultimately means nothing, but save the lives of all these people,
Oh,
and
I
he has
can't
to stay
swim.
behind because he can't swim.
I can't
Like,
swim.
fuck, like,
One of the
I
most
can't swim.
heartbreaking
I would be the
lines
same
in all
way,
of
right?
Star Wars. The one of the most heartbreaking lines in all of Star Wars, and it's "I can't swim."
Like, that was rough, man. But again, I mean, end of the day, it means nothing because it's not like what they that revolution, that whatever the heck it was, that cell escaping is going to stop what they're building, because you see at the end of the series, they're building parts for the Death Star. We
Yeah,
know the Death Star gets created. We saw it in Episode 4. We
yeah.
saw it in Rogue One. So I this was just seeing the rebellion start to come about in this one. We saw it in Rebels. We saw cells in Rebels.
Mhm.
We obviously know it's a thing. Come Rogue One. Come um what you call it? A New Hope. But seeing it being formed, seeing them fighting back against what the I think Andor called, or no, not what was his name? The guy who was got Andor in it all. I can't remember his name now. The one that the jeweler that was not a jeweler.
Oh,
Sc-
shoot.
Uh, Skarsgård's character. I can't remember. Whatever. Um, him saying, yeah, these Empire like higher ups, they're lazy, they're fat. They like we can go in there, we could basically eliminate them, and they wouldn't know. You know, like
Yeah.
he's 100% right.
It
Sorry.
was, Luthen.
That yeah, there we go.
Yeah. Luthen was his name. On the game, you wanted us to recap why Mando was our number 4. Basically, just because of the way they decided to go about the formula of Mandalorian, with it being about Din Djarin season 1, about uh,
The
uh,
escort mission in season 2,
escort mission in season 2,
and
the fact that
Bo-Katan
it
in
was
season 3.
Bo-Katan season
Which
3.
is nothing. It's not bad. It's just that you're calling the Mandalorian, focusing on Din Djarin, like he's our protagonist, but he stopped being the protagonist after season 1.
Yeah,
So
and I even said, like, it would be really cool if, like, because of, Pedro Pascal being so busy with Last of Us and him being really gung ho for it, uh, that the Mandalorian shift to being about Bo-Katan. Like I think that would be a great shift. I don't know how well it would do after that, but I would really appreciate it.
And we said it earlier. It should have started with calling season one Mandalorian, season two Mandalorian Book of Din Djarin, season three Mandalorian Book of Boba Fett, season four, because that's what season three was season
Yeah,
four, because Book of Boba Fett was season three.
yeah.
Call that one
Uh,
of
Book of
Bo Katan.
Bo-Katan.
Yeah,
Yeah. Uh, going back to Andor. Um, I loved this show. Tony Gilroy gave us an amazing movie with Rogue One, and coming back to create Andor and having it completely mapped out, knowing like he has the great opportunity of knowing the ending, just like
yeah.
he did in Rogue One. He knows what has to happen in order for the movie to move forward in that specific trilogy of Star Wars. So he knows that everybody has to die. And here he knows that Cassian only has so much time until he's right there in Rogue One.
It's like
And
a
then
7 years or something like that. Like the
yeah,
first one starts out 7 years before Rogue One.
yeah. And there was so many moments in this show. The fact that there was almost the very first F-bomb in this movie, like
Should have happened.
when his mother gave that speech, like it was like I was there. Like it felt like I was the one being oppressed, and I was just like, "Yeah, amp us up, amp us up, amp us up." Go like that speech was so good. I absolutely love it. The Luthen speech at the end of episode 3. The freaking oh shoot, it was uh shoot, I forgot
I don't
the the
remember.
the tag at the very end of that speech. The is it do I deserve it or have I earned it or something like
Yeah,
I
will I be able to actually, what was it? Oh, it's something along the lines of I'm fighting for a better future that I'm not going to see.
yes. Uh the uh Oh, have I sacrificed? What have I sacrificed? That was the big because the other guy, his inside guy, was what have
Yes,
I've
thank
had to
you.
sacrifice so much. What have you sacrificed? And he talks about everything that he sacrificed. Uh, such a good and
It's
like Scar like there's a reason why the Skarsgård name in Hollywood is so big, and it's moments like this.
yeah,
It's so good. The moments with Mon Mothma, like what she has is having to go through during this whole thing, like that is rough.
yeah,
The first uh real like freaking like quote unquote job of Andor. Like when they're going underground on that planet with the new crew
right.
and everything, they have to go undercover and all of like that was such like well executed, well shot, like cinematography in this show was absolutely amazing. We have, of course, the actor himself, Diego Luna, got to show his acting skills.
Uh huh.
On the game says Andor also had an all-star writers room, which was evident in the show.
Yes,
Yes,
100%.
100%. Um, I I can't say that because one of the big things when Andor first aired, and I'm pretty sure up until the last episode aired, it had the lightsaber problem. And what I mean by that is people love lightsabers. It's the things that go whoosh whoosh, they're swords, they clash, they're Jedi. It's something people absolutely adore about Star Wars. General public, the general audience loves lightsabers as well. It's things go whoosh whoosh, they clash, they're bright colors, it draws attention.
Sure.
This show didn't have lightsabers. the show didn't have anything like that. You can say, "Oh, Mandalorian didn't have it either," but they
I mean,
eventually
it
did.
did by the end of season 2.
Yeah, I was gonna say it eventually did.
One
Um,
of one of the things I liked about Solo was no Jedis.
yeah,
Literally no Jedis until you get to the end and there's Darth Maul, which is already beautiful to see, and then he pops his lightsaber. Why?
for
Because you
no
need a
reason,
lightsaber
because
in
you
the
yeah,
movie.
yep,
And I was like, you didn't need that. You did not need that scene. Oh, you're threatening Kira. Cool. You're in a hologram. Like I understand that Darth Vader is able to choke somebody. Like,
across the
like
freaking galaxy. Yeah,
well, they were like a ship. They were in a different ship across the way. But like, yeah, you're literally across the galaxy. I'm sure if you were powerful enough, you'd be able to do that, Darth Maul. Or I'm sorry, Maul, because you're not Darth Maul anymore. But
yeah.
there's a reason why the Emperor got rid of you. And it wasn't because you got cut in half. Because you sucked. Just kidding. I love Maul.
Uh, yeah, like I for me here, like I love this show. Uh, I hope that they don't like want to like, and I do think that Gilroy will fight back if Lucasfilm tries to invade too much. Um, but like I don't want them to try and, "Oh, let's throw in Obi-Wan Kenobi for some reason and, like, do all this stuff." It doesn't make any sense. Timeline doesn't
Yeah.
make any sense, people. You can't
Well,
force anything like that. The only thing that they could make sense is the reference to Obi-Wan with the path. If the path and Andor end up crossing paths, I will not fight it because there's an in-story reason why there would be Jedi out there wanting to help in some capacity.
yes. That one,
Yeah.
yes, I agree. But it
Yes.
doesn't have to be Obi-Wan. It could be a random Jedi. Doesn't
Exactly.
have to be Obi-Wan.
Yes. Because we also had this conversation at the very beginning of Ahsoka, or even before Ahsoka even aired, because there was the idea that Balin was a survivor of Order 66. We know that 1% of over 1,000 Jedi survived.
That's 100 Jedi,
1%, 1% is still a
right?
lot of Jedi. So
Or was that
uh,
10 Jedi? Anyway,
don't make
whatever.
me do math on
Yeah,
Star
my
Wars
math is hard
Alliance.
on that one.
Yeah.
Um, all right, so let's talk about Rebel season 5.
Ahsoka is next on our list. The show that just aired, of course, starring Rosario Dawson, the late Ray Stevenson, who I believe stole the show.
100%. I
Um,
and I
and
mean
I don't
I
even believe that I truly don't even believe that Lucasfilm, Dave Filoni, or anybody thought that he was going to be such a hit in this show. Like I
and
don't believe it.
you could make the argument that because of his death, people focused on his role more, which sucks, but Ray Stevenson is just a wonderful actor. Like I know I haven't seen all the stuff he's been in, but the things I have seen, I have loved him in those roles.
The only thing that I did not like him in was Punisher. That's the
Oh, I
only thing
loved him in Punisher. Loved him in Punisher. Now, don't get me wrong, I love Thomas Jane, but that was a different thing. So, like, I don't know. Um, but no, 100%. This show, Ahsoka, was a really, really good show. But the problem with this is the front half of this was literally Rebels season 5. It was just a Rebels reunion. And then as soon as you get that middle where Ahsoka finally like, and I wish I could have Emily on here. She has a really great explanation of the transition from Ahsoka to Ahsoka the White uh during that scene where she is washed in the water and came out like renewed and revigorated. Really great explanation for that. I would not do it justice, so I'm not even gonna talk about it. You can message her earlier and later and ask.
okay.
Um, it at that moment, once they go chasing after Sabine, chasing after Morgan and Balin and Shin to try and stop Thrawn from coming, like it became a an Ahsoka, Sabine, Ezra show.
Yeah,
So still not Ahsoka focused. Like you had the one episode where it was all focused on her, but that was her having a, I don't want to say a dream, but like a uh
midlife crisis.
no, um what's a spirit walk, if you will. Um
Yes, yeah, yeah, yeah.
and like which she needed because
A
up until
vision
that,
quest, if you will.
thank you. That's one. Yeah, sort of that kind of thing. Because up until that point, she was worried about being Anakin. She knew Anakin had turned to the dark side. She saw that in Rebels, and she was worried that because her master had turned, is she going to turn? And so, yeah, when she was training Sabine, she wasn't giving it her all, and Sabine wasn't giving it her all. And once she came back, and they actually started to communicate and actually started to trust each other again, it became a better show. But it wasn't. It should not have been called Ahsoka from the get go. It should have been. But you also run into that problem. You call it Rebel season 5. Only the core Star Wars people are going to watch it. Everybody knows Ahsoka. Even just a general audience who never watched Rebels knows Ahsoka because of her popularity.
Yeah,
No one is going to watch a show, a continuation of a cartoon into live action. But that's really
yeah,
what it was. This was Rebel season 5. And I'm not upset about that. I loved it. Like that was great. But because whatever Lucasfilm is doing and mismanaging their titles, I guess, or their properties, I don't know how you want to call it. Like this, and I know I'm not lowering it just because of the title. Like what really bugs me is by the end of the show, by the end of the season, it's literally just a setup for either a
A,
season
a
2
potential season
or
2.
a setup for the movie coming in 2 years. Why can't you just have a complete season with a little bit of a cliffhanger, not a giant cliffhanger of like, well, now we know they have to get off
They
this world somehow.
they're
Oh, but
setting
then we
up
have
for
Balin over
Mando season
here.
3.5.
I'm surprised Mando didn't show up in the show at all.
Well,
You already had the Mandalorian and Sabine.
there's the theory. There's the theory that showed up uh they showed up without being
Oh,
seen.
with the whale. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Cuz somebody freeze framed the scene, and there is a black shadow right next to the hyperspace visual, and they're saying that that is the actual Din Djarin ship when Grogu looks to the side and sees the Purgle.
Okay. Until it is in a book or on the until it's beginning of Mandalorian season 4, I don't believe it.
I I think that the timeline works to that for that to be a thing. Uh on the game says, is it controversial to say I would have the three middle shows all on three with gaps at 2 and 4 to highlight just how good Andor and Boba Fett were. Uh
Not necessarily. Like that's not a bad spot because Obi-Wan and and we said in the beginning, Mandalorian started it all, and it was a great show. The first season was great, second season was fine, third season started to dip. But now you're getting into the long form storytelling. The more you add, the more it starts to muddle everything.
yeah, yeah. Um to highlight some of the things that I loved about Ahsoka. Um I loved the like the overall like showing of Hayden Christensen
Oh,
as Anakin. Um
yeah.
I think that it was a choice to have his hairstyle the way they chose in the
Eh,
Clone Wars flashback. Um but it's they
That
they
did
just
bug me.
they had to work with what they had. Seeing him in the battle armor was great. I didn't like that we had to see the Battle of Mandalore again. It the Siege of Mandalore. It like for me, I said that I needed to see something that was new. I wanted to personally see something that was new, just so that way it could be like something like you're like, "Oh, we're experiencing something new with a live action Anakin Skywalker." Uh, but unfortunately, we did not. Um, but the, holo that Ahsoka was listening to and watching while she was training was a set of 12, and we, as fans, have already seen one of them in Rebels. She was watching it when uh 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 oh shoot when Ezra came walking in and he was like, "Oh, uh Kanan says that he was one of the greatest Jedis ever." She was watching it and she was telling him how good of a Jedi he was and everything else. So it's that hollow was actually a reference back to Rebels.
Did she say
I
12? I thought there was 20.
was it 20?
I,
I thought she
I
said
thought it was
12.
20. I could be wrong. It's been a minute since I watched the episode, so I don't remember
I'll go back and
properly.
double check, but yeah, I thought that was cool that there was a reference to uh, a small moment in Rebels that she was a part of, which was very very cool. Um, you call it Rebel season 5, I call it Huang and Friends. Uh,
That's fair.
Huang was so good, and like the brain exploding aha Leo DiCaprio moment that everybody had in the episode where he starts the episode literally saying a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, that then everybody's like, oh my gosh, the entire story of Star Wars is just Hugh Wang telling these stories to a new batch of younglings in the future. I I headcanon it. It's okay. Um, as long as I know that Huang is the last survivor in the entire galaxy, I win. Um, he is literally he is older than freaking Yoda. Yoda was 1,000 years old. He is older than Yoda.
Yeah,
Um, with 90% of his old original parts,
yeah,
according to him in this series. Um, having David Tennant come back to reprise his voice as Huang, absolutely amazing. I think it has a little bit to do with the deal that Disney just made with BBC and Doctor Who. So thankfully that's a thing. So we get to see even more David Tennant soon on Disney Plus. Uh,
yeah. I need to watch. I stopped watching after Capaldi left, and I haven't gone back to it. I need to go back to it and finish
I
it
need
up.
to finish Jodie's seasons too.
Yeah,
Um, and so I love that. I love the conversation with Ezra and Hewing also about Kanan's lightsaber, that connection that they share with Kanan, I thought was amazing. Getting to see Ezra wield a lightsaber again felt really, really good. And the overall story of Sabine. Um, I know that a lot of people uh, have had their qualms with how her rise with the connection of the Force has been, but the Force is a very confusing thing when it comes to people who are trying to manipulate it, especially with somebody with so much emotions as Sabine. We need to remember that Sabine, through all of this, has lost a great friend in Ezra before she got to wield the Force. She lost her family. She like the big thing with Ahsoka was she didn't want Sabine to be another Anakin. Like she saw that there was potential for so much to go wrong with Sabine's anger that she had. And like that goes full circle with, having that, being able to quote unquote talk to Anakin and be free of all of that and let go and now be in good graces with Sabine and trust her as a pupil, uh, and continue that journey with her, I think is great. I love that. Thrawn, because we haven't touched on anything with Thrawn yet. Thrawn. Everybody knows how I feel about Thrawn in the Legends novels. I think he is OP. He like it's one of the one things that I hate about Thrawn in those novels is that Anakin, Han, and Leia devise a plan light years on the other side of the
Luke
freaking
Han and
galaxy.
Leia, even.
Yeah, Luke, Han, and Leia devise a plan on the other side of the galaxy, and freaking Thrawn already knows what the plan is before they even finish thinking of the plan. Like, it is so stupid how OP that Zahn made freaking Thrawn in those in those books. Here, he is a little bit more like Rebels. He you know underestimates the Jedi again, even though he said in the episode that he wasn't going to underestimate the Jedi. Um, his face when finding out that freaking uh Ahsoka
Anakin is, yeah.
was a pupil of Anakin, he's like, "Oh shit."
Uh-huh.
I
I
love all
love
the
that.
I love all the TikToks that people have made that when he finally goes back to the known galaxy, and when he finds out that Anakin Skywalker's son is the reigning Jedi, the Grandmaster Jedi, is gonna be so good.
He's gonna be losing it. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. No,
I
Thrawn.
love that.
Thrawn to me, I never read the original Thrawn trilogy,
Mhm.
but I have read the new Thrawn trilogy, not the second set, but the first set.
The
And
the canon trilogy, yeah.
yes, correct. Because I know there was that second, like Thrawn Ascending and
Yeah, yeah,
Thrawn
yeah.
whatever. I haven't read those yet, but I did read the other ones, and those were wonderful. You got to see Thrawn, this master strategist, just like checkmate everybody before, like he just saw what was happening, and he had multiple different plans in play, and if it starts to sway this way, he's like, all right, now we're gonna go this route. Like I know what to do when the waves start going going over here. And that's what we got. Yeah, I know you and Katie, and I can't disagree with the how did you call him in the final episode? Where he is gloating.
Yeah,
Like
the
that's definitely not right. Like, I don't think, like, he should have been, but at the same time, like, maybe he wasn't gloating, maybe he didn't think he was gloating, but he came off gloaty.
yeah, the way I said it just as like a devil's advocate was he used it more of a way to stall Ahsoka for any last minute
Get
plan
under
she
her
might have
skin, yeah.
had to either grab onto their ship or anything else. So he was just like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna, say this, even though it's very unlike me. It'll get under her skin." Yeah, for sure.
And it did. I mean, for all intents and purposes, it did, you know?
Yeah,
But, no, I think Thrawn is I really enjoyed his portrayal in live action. I really enjoyed Ezra's live action portrayal. I enjoyed all of them. Like, the cast for this was stellar, 100%, all across the board. Um, it
I,
is sad that we're not gonna be able to see any more Ray Stevenson.
it's gonna
I
be very interesting to see the
what they
route
do.
that they go
I
because we've
so
had
I'm
so
hoping
many polarizing opinions about the idea of either recasting him or, of course, we've had the big discussion with the Mark Hamill incident with the CGI and AI that they use to recreate him
I'm
in
not
both Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett.
I'm not against the him gaining the abilities of father, and that changes him a little bit. Like, he has to wear a mask, like it disfigures him, and so he has to wear a mask, and you get a new actor. Would that is that a cop out? Maybe. At the same time, I wouldn't mind seeing more of his character be developed in a novel or a comic. Um, but ultimately, end of the day, I think they
Ooh.
might actually recast and just
I think
do.
they
I think they recast just basically do what they did with Don Cheadle. It's like, I'm here, it's me, move on.
I I I still don't know. I think that it'll it'll be it'll be rough.
It will be
Um,
rough.
there has been I didn't realize until people started to point it out how many like English and Irish actors look so much like Ray Stevenson, but I only think it's because the facial hair look is popular for that age range of men.
Yeah,
The beard goatee shortcut I think is very, very popular.
yeah.
Uh but still, people have pointed out the guy who played Sabretooth in the
Liv
Wolverine movies,
Liv Schreiber. Yeah,
Shriver. Uh people have pointed out Gerard Butler. Uh I I
I'd go with
told
Schreiber honestly, but
I think it was 2 episodes ago, an episode ago, uh, on here that I said that Ray Stevenson would still act circles around Gerard Butler today, which
I
is
mean Butler's good. He is, but Ray Stevenson's better.
well, I mean, ever since Gerard Butler started to make those really wacky, like uh, action hero type movies, like Airplane, and
Yeah, yeah.
in all of those, so I think it I don't know. He's kinda gone downhill in his acting career in my opinion, but I do hope that we get to continue this story because it left on such a great cliffhanger, talking or referencing the gods, in the
The
Star Wars
Mortis. Yeah,
universe, the Mortis gods, um, and so many fan theories. Like I know that a lot of Star Wars fans have tinfoil hats on when it comes to uh
what?
just the future of Star Wars. Uh but some of them have really fun, interesting, and uh possibly correct theories on what could happen.
Yeah.
And if you guys haven't watched that arc, it's in season 3,
Oh,
the Mortis Gods 3 episode arc. It is so so good.
so good.
So go check that out. But that about covers our list. So we
Yeah.
have, to recap, Andor as our number one, Obi-Wan as our number two, Ahsoka slash Rebels season 5 on number 3, uh, The Mandalorian on our number 4, and Book of Boba Fett slash Mandalorian season 2.5 as our number 5. Again, we were talking all of our live action shows. So I do know that technically Clone Wars season 7 and the Bad
Bad
Batch
Batch
were
season one
also
and
on
two.
here, but
Yeah.
we wanted to focus just because we just finished our Ahsoka, which is a live action show. We wanted to focus on the live action shows. So thank you again for everybody here live with us on the game. Andrew, Scuttlebutt, thank you guys so much for being here live. If you guys would love to join us again on Thursdays, or today's not Thursday, it's Wednesdays.
Today's
So
Wednesday.
Thursday is when the episode drops, but
Hmm.
Wednesday at uh 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time is when we start the live. If you guys want to join us here, we also have, of course, our Star Wars hotline. It is Star Wars Alliance hotline. It's 830-538-4828. You can text or leave a voicemail. We do vex these, so don't say anything that you wouldn't say normally.
So I'm never gonna call that.
You again, we will try to always keep this PG-13 if possible. You can share your thoughts on your ranking. If you have an opinion about our rankings, you can share that opinion with us. If you have anything to question us on in regards to Star Wars, you can share uh, those texts or emails with us. Of course, you can always give us your Twitter handle or some sort of nickname so we can acknowledge you by. Don't share too much information because it is the internet. And then if you don't want to text or voicemail us, you can always send us an email at starwarsalliance@gmail.com. That is StarWarsAlliance@gmail.com. There is no A in the word wars. So that is very important. Don't forget it. Joe, where can the lovely listeners and watchers find you?
You guys can find me online on Twitter at comic. Nope. Wait, hold on. What am I doing here? You can find me on Twitter at underscore actually underscore. You can find my show, A Walk to the Multiverse, on Twitter at Walk the Verse. Where I'm also part of DC Alliance, where we are now going live Thursdays on Geekverse YouTube channel at 8 o'clock. That will be until Loki is done, and then we're going to be switching back to Fridays. And Fridays is going to be our new home for now because apparently DC likes to drop info literally Tuesday through Friday, and never on Monday. So that's where you can find me. You can also find my other show. I already kind of started saying it. Comic Book Rundown on Twitter at Comic Rundown, and on Instagram at Comic Book Rundown. Go check that out. Also, I got a YouTube channel finally. So I gotta check, make sure that episode's coming out this week. Anyway, sorry, that's my own
Yes,
headcanon.
and
Thanks.
you can
Go.
always find me at Fanboy Clay on any and all social media. You can also check me out at twitch.tv at fanboyclay10. That's fanboyclay10, where I have been playing Marvel Snap. Been wanting to stream a lot more and having a lot of fun with that. Speaking of Marvel Snap, Jake and I have an episode on our Patreon. If you guys are a patron, we talk about the first week of this season and what's to come in this season of Marvel Snap. We are really looking forward to everything that is going on in the spooky season of October. So go check that out if you are a
Ew.
patron. That is part of the $5 tier. Uh, so you will also get a lot of exclusive stuff, including things that Joe is putting out there on his 31 days of Halloween. So
30 plus days of Halloween.
30 plus days of Halloween because you did start before October.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's like 38.
so go check that out as
Yeah.
well. Of course, me and Joe have Ranger Alliance. The most recent episode is our review along with Jake with the first two episodes of Cosmic Fury. That is going to take us all the way through the year. We are taking a break from Power Rangers Zeo and talking about the new season, which could possibly be and quite looking like the last piece of the franchise for quite some time. So go check that out. It was a lot of fun watching those first two episodes. Me and Joe will be returning to Ranger Alliance here shortly to talk the next two episodes coming to you soon near the end of this month. And then, of course, outside of the network, I do have Batman News Weekly, where we talk about anything and everything Batman in all pop culture and media. And we are on YouTube as well, where I have been pumping out a lot of long form and short term content. Recently, I put out a video on everyone who has been Batman, which was a lot of fun doing the research for that. So go check that out. It was a lot of fun to do. So with that, guys, I do want to thank you guys for lasting this long and for I know Katie's not here, but I'm going to attempt to do her outro here because I know she loves it. I want you guys to have a good day wherever you are uh, watching and listening, and we will see y'all next time. May the force be with you.